So as that original era of all-star wrestling kind of faded out a little bit, you actually became a promoter.
I did. There was a time period where All-Star faded away. It was sold to Fred Roselli, who was Mike Roselli's father, and Rocky Della Sera. They tried really hard to keep it going. They were still running Cloverdale weekly. They were running Agassiz, Chilliwack, out of towns and stuff like that, Alder Grove. But the people weren't there. Because when they bought the show from the promotion from Al, there was no television show to go with it. The station dropped it. So without TV, and when there was no social media back then, there was no way to get the word out to the people. People thought that All-Star Wrestling just went away, faded away, except the core audience. But the core audience wasn't big enough to sustain a weekly show in Cloverdale. So I just, they kind of died off, and I started running shows called West Coast Championship Wrestling. My brother-in-law Ken Kingshot and my best man at wedding, Tim Wilson. We ran that. We've had numerous partners that came in and out during the 5 years. Wayne Greenwood came in, and then in 1995 we closed down West Coast Wrestling. And in '96 we opened up, myself and Johnny Canuck and John Parlett. Now John Parlett doesn't get a lot of credit. Like, people forget that John Parlett was really the guy who had the idea of ECCW. He always wanted to do the crazy gimmicks. He always wanted to do the blood and the barbed wire and things like that. But I was past using guys that didn't want to. There were problems in the ring, problems in the dressing room. I just wanted to use the guys that I liked, who weren't problems. So I thought, let's run Vancouver Island, because Island was always good for us. Let's try this ECCW thing. We did. We were successful. And we kept pushing, and eventually we come to the mainland, and finally we did come to the mainland, to New Westminster for our first show. First show did pretty good. And that was the night I said, John, you know what? Moving back to California, you're on your own now. And then after that, John had trouble getting talent. Guys, Flowers was running against him on the same weekends. John would run Friday, Tim would run Saturday in Cloverdale, because Flowers had Cloverdale at this point. Tim had, but John had, Mike Roselli was always loyal to John. Johnny Canuck was always loyal to me and John. Velvet McIntyre, Iron Maiden, and a few other, Billy Two Eagles and Matt Bourne. When I came back, and 6 months later, John had things rocking. He said Matt Bourne and Billy Two Eagles were on top. They were doing a barbed wire match. Place was crazy. I came back. John, brought more guys in. Dr. Lufer and those guys came over from the other company to us, and from then on, we was packing at Eagles Hall every month. Sometimes twice a month, packing the place. That was the best building for local wrestling besides Cloverdale in that time period. ECW was on fire in 1998 and 99 and 2000, till we got to about the early 2000s, and things started dying off again.
I was just thinking that not a lot of the wrestlers in All-Star Wrestling now ever got a chance to perform at the Eagles Hall in New Westminster, which really was such a special atmosphere.
Yeah, only a few guys did. A lot of the guys still stuck in Cloverdale. A lot of the All-Star guys disappeared for a while. They stopped wrestling. Buddy Wayne and those guys, and Ole were still wrestling for Tim. Maybe. Oh no, Ole was working for ECW. Ole was an ECW guy, but Buddy Wayne didn't. Rocky was still trying to do his own thing occasionally. He came over eventually. But a lot of the guys that, like Iton and those guys, didn't work for ECW. They worked for WCCW 91 and 95, but they took a break during those hardcore years.
Why and I know it was, you just mentioned it was TJ Silverspoon who kind of wanted to do that. Why did you make the decision to go in that extreme format?
Well, that's what was working at that time, but ECW was so hot, and that was the talk of the internet, talk of the scoop sheets, and they were packing them in. We thought, well, we got guys here that want to bleed and do barbed wire and do crazy things too, and that's when we were all silly and crazy and stupid, and it worked. Whatever we were powerbombing a girl over the table, or hitting her in the head of a chair, or Buffy, of course, and bleeding every night. There was just Dr. Lufer bleeding like a pig and going like crazy and doing stuff like. It was just clicking back then. It was definitely clicking.
Now, you were one of the pillars of ECCW until about 2005, 2006, when you stepped away not only in a wrestling capacity but also as a promoter. What was the decision-making process behind that?
In 2006, I saved up enough money to put it down, and I thought, maybe it's time to make the transition from wrestling promoter, and a legal liability of ECCW, and transition myself out of there, which I did. And I had my partner Disco. I graced him with my part of the company, which somehow the deal went south after that with his situation in that company, and he ended up leaving ECCW about 6 months later, but maybe a year later. It's a horrible situation how he was treated on the way out. It wasn't right. It was backstabbing move totally. But that's the way the wrestling business is. So in '07, I thought, you know what, I'm going to search All-Star Wrestling names, see if it's even out there. Anybody has it registered. And nobody did. I thought, you know what, I'll register the name. See what happens. And I thought, I'll run a show. I had a few contacts of, excuse me, some fundraiser shows like Squamish that ECW wasn't running. So I thought, I'll run a show there, run a show here, run these little fundraisers there. And eventually, we were already North fan, and then things got a little pissy, and I thought, okay, you want to get pissy, I'll just start firing back now, and I'll start running close to you. You know, eventually I did get Cloverdale back, and we were off.
Now, all throughout the years as a promoter, you've also had a hand in training some of the best wrestlers we see in the world now. Why do you find so much pride and so much happiness in training wrestlers?
You know, I like cultivating a guy and teaching him, you know, how the business works and the psychology behind things. I'm not the greatest at showing all the moves, but I'm good at showing the basics and things like. I don't take credit for all these guys. Like, I take some credit, like whether it's me and Disco, or whether it's me, Disco, and Vance, Nevada, or whether it's me, Disco, Vance, Nevada, and Scotty Mack finished some guy, or whether it's me and so and David Richards finishing somebody. You know, to be a good wrestler, you need to learn from lots of people. Whether they start with me and they continue on to get training from David Richards or someone else like that, it's a bonus for them for sure. So I had a part in a lot of guys' career who are still active on the West Coast. One guy who just wrestled in Wrestle Kingdom this past month, Kyle O'Reilly. Nicole Matthews is the Shimmer Ladies champion. So many more I think that could have been stars that never left here and became that star. And they waited too long, or they missed their time to shine. And a lot of guys were trained and became wrestlers to be part of the party lifestyle, become a wrestler locally, but they never wanted to take the next leap to go to the next party. And the one guy who did take that leap was Kyle O'Reilly. He knew he had to leave here. I said, Kyle, you have to leave here. He did leave here.
Just want to kind of go with some name and word association, if I could. What are your thoughts on Ricky Itaki?
Ricky Itaki is a great guy, fun guy. You know, we were I've known him since we were 18 years old. He's full Japanese. I'm a quarter Japanese, and I love seeing him every year at the Cloverdale Club. We still keep in touch on Facebook, and love him to death.
He's a pretty good cribbage player too.
Very good cribbage player. I don't know how to play cribbage, you know, but he's a great cribbage player, and I tried to get him up here for All-Star in 1990, and he didn't come, you know. But everybody has their own path, right?
A name that a lot of newer fans might not know, but I know had a big influence on you, Carl Lauer.
Carl Lauer, the executive vice president at Cloverdale Alley Club. You know, Carl's one of the guys that opened the door for me. Besides, I used to make the wrestling newsletter called California Wrestling, and eventually I found Carl's shows, and I was making his event programs. I was, you know, write his little wrestling show program, and I would go to the Showboat Hotel in Las Vegas and sell the programs there and different places, you know, and just he let me keep the money, you know, whatever money I made, you know, because he knew I wasn't making much, and we sold them for $1 each. I had a photographer guy named Joe Falzone, my partner in it. He made these wrestling programs for Carl Lauer, yeah.
Al Tomko.
You know, Al Tomko, he's the one who gave me my break, gave me my chance. Without Al, you know, hiring me and giving me my chance to learn my craft and get better at my craft by the opportunity of wrestling 5 to 6 days a week. And he's the guy who's responsible for creating Michelle Starr. He's the one that gave me the name, gave me the TV exposure every Saturday, 2 hours a day, you know, on BCTV and on Check Sips. And without the power of TV and his ideas, people still know me today.
Rocky De La Sera.
He could take a pounding and he could dish it out too. Rocky is he's been a pretty good friend of mine. We've had our battles over the years in the ring and out of the ring. There's been times we've hated each other, times we wanted to fight each other in the front yard of my house. Times we've been both drunk and crazy, and you know, he's like a brother to me though. Like, he's like that brother you want to fight and beat up all the time, and but tons of respect for that man. A lot of respect for him.
Terry Joe Silverspoon.
Terry Joe Silverspoon, a.k.a. John Parlett. John Parlett has been a loyal friend from the beginning. When Tim Wilson brought John Parlett around and said, "Hey, I got this guy here, and he wants to make a set of ring stairs." So he made us ring stairs out of wood. You know, made them all up, and painted them all nice, and that was his way in, making ring stairs. And we used to put these road signs on all the street poles. John would write them all by hand every night. And he'd go out and put them all up, like 50 signs for a Cloverdale show, like giant signs, right? John would post it for hours and days just to make the shows happen. Like, people don't realize how much John did behind the scenes back in the day, and he doesn't get a lot of credit. He doesn't get the credit he should get.
Maniac Matt Bourne.
Maniac Matt Bourne, probably the toughest guy I've ever met in my life, and the scariest man ever in my life. When you're in the ring of Matt Bourne, you know you're in there for a match. You know there's no air, there's no misses. Everything either looks really good or you felt it, one or the other. And he's intense. I miss him dearly. He was taken too soon for sure. And I think I talked to him on Facebook a few days before he passed. We kept in touch all the time, and so deeply missed for sure.
I want you above me. I search myself.